Welcome to The More Perfect Union, a podcast about the joy we get from American politics, or as we like to call it, real debate without the hate. Hi, I'm Kevin Kelton, and with me tonight are Rebecca Kushmiter and Greg Matusak. Normally, we are also joined by our conservative friends DJ, Emily, and Cliff, but as luck would have it, none of them could make it tonight, so it's just us three liberals. Please bear with us. We'll still try to be as fair as humanly possible. What do you guys say? Can we do it?
We will be fair and balanced.
And I think we ought to make a note that Cliff and DJ and Emily are all fine. They did not fall victim to the 2017 massacre of wonderful people.
That's right.
They're
That's
okay.
right.
They're just busy.
They are perfectly fine. The More Perfect Union podcast can be found on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and at our website, themoreperfectunionpodcast.com.
So this has been an interesting week, and we're starting off the new year with our still president, President Obama. And I guess he's in a bit of a flap with the Ruskies, as we used to like to call them in the 60s.
Yeah, he's decided to put his hammer down, put this hammer and sickle down on them. He's decided he's decided he's had enough. And, this week over the hacking debacle, he's kicked out 35 embassy, they were diplomats or agents, as he called them, from America. He expelled them, and he closed 2 Russian facilities. And those were the words, and I still haven't found clarification if they were embassies or if they were just diplomatic openings, but 2 facilities in America.
I'm sure Putin was just pulverized by the news. I'm sure he wept for hours.
Actually, what's funny was that he was upset, and immediately he expelled 35 Americans, and then he changed his mind.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, yeah, he did. He changed his mind with the thought that, well, no one knows what actually goes through his tiger blood pumping mind, but
his shirtless mind.
His shirtless on a horse. He thinks about things like, why is this shirt so tight and things like that. Yes. But
why am I so much shorter than Obama?
Well, one of the prevailing thoughts is that, in 6 weeks or as soon as Trump, I can just bring these people back in, or my people will get brought back in, and we'll have a much better. And so why am I upsetting these people that soon are going to be my best friends? This is no good. So he decided, I'm okay with this.
But interestingly, Obama has support from the conservative GOP side. He's got support from John McCain and Lindsey Graham, who actually, they took some kind of a trip this week.
Yeah, Obama doesn't just have support from, the great maverick Senator John McCain and his best friend Lindsey Graham. There have been statements from both Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell that in addition to the expulsion of the Russian staffers, he also Obama announced sanctions on some Russian individuals and a couple of Russian agencies that are very targeted financial sanctions. They're not overall economic sanctions like you'd think of coming out of the UN. But McConnell and Ryan have both stated that those were appropriate responses, and in fact, it's almost too little, too late. Obama should have gone farther, and he should have done it sooner. And McConnell keeps using this phrase, "Russia is not our friend," and that sounds very dog whistly to me. And I think it's meant as a signal to Trump and also to Tillerson, who's got the Putin BFF award, or whatever that honor was that he got from Russia, that we're not going to be changing our foreign policy on Russia. And so then we've got Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina and former presidential candidate. We've also got John McCain, senator from Arizona and former presidential nominee, along with Senator Klobuchar from Minnesota, in the Baltic states to do a tour of like Estonia and a couple other countries, where they were reassuring the leaders of those countries that that NATO is still behind them and that they're not going to get eaten up by Putin's desires to re-annex Soviet territories. So McCain now is going to hold a hearing this Thursday. He's bringing in James Clapper and a few other people to talk about what was going on with the Russian interference, what sort of the extent of Russian hacking has been. And it's sort of an interesting place where, this outgoing president is being supported by a significant portion of the opposition party that's about to take power. So it's kind of a curious situation, and I'm not sure, what Camp Trump is going to do about it or how they're going to respond to it.
If I'm correct, Trump is still seeing, if this all goes back to the original hacking, which is why Obama put these sanctions and closed these facilities, Trump still believes, or still is telling, that these is not such a big deal, that this is hay, and we should move on. In fact, that's his term this week.
Yes, get on with our lives, actually.
We should get on with his, and I wish that was a joke, because I know often I say these things, but that has been his term this week. We should just move on, get on with our lives, because this is really keeping us back from getting behind him, which is either A, fascinating, or B, scary as hell.
It's psychotic. It's psychotic.
It's psychotic.
It's like
But
OJ saying,
down,
come on,
down
let's move on with our lives.
Let's find the real killer.
Yeah.
Let's find the real hackers.
Yeah.
But it's becoming kind of obvious that Obama and other folks in his administration, and possibly among the Republicans, are sort of creating Russia as a wedge issue between Trump and the establishment Republican Party. And, you're seeing really some daylight between them on this. If you've got McConnell and Ryan saying, yep, these sanctions were a great idea, and Trump threatening to halt the sanctions and bring back the diplomats and go hang out at Putin's house or invite Putin to Mar-a-Lago or whatever he's thinking of doing, this starts to put into question the idea of any sort of Trump doctrine on foreign policy, because if he doesn't have the support of Congress, there will be roadblocks. We're in a very strange place. It's hard to tell what's messaging and what's real. How much of this Russian interference is the kind of stuff that they've actually been doing for years and nobody's made a big deal of it because it wasn't worth making a big deal about.
We're in a cyber war. I don't know whether people realize this. We are in a cyber war. We've been talking about cyber war for a decade, and we're in one now. Now, it might be the opening salvos, but, we're doing things to them that us regular folk don't know about, but our government is retaliating for what they did to us.
But I'm wondering, have we been doing this for 5 years?
Yeah. Well,
has this been going on for a while, and it's become a surface issue because of this particular election and because Obama decided to make it one?
Let me throw something non sequitur out, because our conservative friends aren't here, and someone has to be that other side. I'll do that because I love them and they're great people.
You're a giver, Greg.
I'm a giver, and I like to stir the pot. What about this conspiracy theory? What are the chances that all this is just made up, and Obama is just trying to create as much crap and chaos on his way out? He's taking all the H's off the keyboard, all the W's off the keyboard, just to make life miserable for Trump.
Okay, so let's get back to this conspiracy theory that Greg is.
What if this is? I'm doing this for my friends.
No, I know,
who
but
are not here.
what is this hypothetical conspiracy that the Russians did not hack the DNC?
Russians didn't hack, and he knows that Trump is trying to align himself with Russia.
That's just
this
ridiculous.
Is his,
It's just ridiculous.
Well, it's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous because we see Trump doing this. It's not ridiculous.
But the premise of that
Obama has decided he is just going to just kick over this flower pot and just break things on his way out. And he's like, they made life difficult for me. I'm going to make life difficult for them.
Well, no, he is making life difficult for them. But the premise that the hack was not real, the idea that President Obama somehow could convince James Clapper, the CIA, Comey at the FBI, that he could convince all these people to fabricate evidence of a Russian hack. I mean, they couldn't stop Comey from releasing the Clinton letters. So they don't have that kind of power. That's just ridiculous. While we're talking about conspiracies,
I agree.
The best conspiracies have truth. Have truth at their heart. And yes, the Russians did this thing. Whether or not it is actually as big a deal as we're acting like it is right now, that's what's unclear to me, at least.
Well, and that's what we need a congressional hearing for.
Well, again, that's going to be every individual. Look, the facts are the facts. thousands upon thousands upon thousands of pages of private emails were leaked somehow to the public to diminish Hillary Clinton's chances to win the presidency. That's a fact. Now, every individual has to decide, one, did it change the outcome, or was she destined to lose anyways? And two, what is the significance of the Russians trying, if not succeeding, in changing the outcome of a U.S. presidential election? But the facts remain the facts. And the reason that I stood up to Greg, even though I know that you were just putting that out hypathetically, I know you don't
just putting
really
it out
that,
hypothetical,
is because
hypothetically stood up to hypothetical Greg.
Listen, all three of us and our other friends are in various political groups on Facebook. We all happen to be in Open Fire, which was is the group that I founded. And I see people every single day who are putting forth Greg's theory or Greg's hypothetical
theory
as a version of reality that they believe and that they are trying to sell other people. And we have to stop this fake news thing. We have to stop feeding into their narrow partisan massage of reality that fits their narrative that Trump won the election by a landslide, and that he would have
right.
and that if he had campaigned in California,
that negative 3 million votes he won by was a landslide,
and that if he had campaigned in California or New York, he would have won by 3 million votes.
Well, it also diminishes the authority of people who actually know stuff, and we're watching Trump do it right now when he's coming out and holding little statements to the press at Mar-a-Lago on New Year's Eve, going, "Oh no, we don't know who did this. We don't know anything. I know stuff that you don't know. I know all the stuff. The stuff is known to only me," or whatever. Believe me, whatever he says.
Right.
And so he's trying to diminish the authority of everyone who isn't him. And people who spout these hypothetical situations of, oh, well, maybe this is all made up, are buying into Trump as ultimate authority in this particular set of circumstances.
Right. And as Democrats, and the three of us happen to be Democrats, the way that everybody's talking about, well, what do Democrats do now? What do we do to be the loyal opposition? And personally, I think one important aspect of the loyal opposition is to point out when he's lying. The editor of the Wall Street Journal was on one of the morning shows today, and he said that they are not going to label Trump's lies as lies because that implies some moral wrongdoing, and they're going to just call them inaccurate, mischaracterizations, maybe not true. But I think it's important for us to call them lies because right now he's riding high, even though he's under 50% popularity. His popularity is higher than it was before the election. And if we don't stand up to this guy, if we let him call the shots for the next 6 or 9 months, he will get to 55% popularity, and then he really will do damage to all of the progressive advancements of the last 30 to 50 years. So, in my opinion, we need to kneecap him at now, he's the president of the United States, and personally...
Not yet.
Well, he's going to be. And I'm not one of those people that has a problem with 16-year-old girls singing the national anthem at the inauguration. I think we have much bigger fish to fry, and those fish are, once he does actually take the oath of office, to hold his feet to the fire of reality and to his campaign promises.
Hey, speaking of 16-year-old girls, why is it
let's caveat, we're not speaking of 16-year-old girls in a weird and creepy way.
No, we're talking about...
We are talking about a professional singer who also happens to be a 16-year-old girl, before anybody gets the wrong idea.
Well, let's explain what we're talking about in case maybe some of our foreign listeners don't know. A young woman, a 16-year-old woman, I don't remember her name, accepted an invitation to sing the national anthem. She's won some television talent contests, and she's done some performing around the country. She's apparently a very talented singer. And my side, our side, the left, has been giving her a lot of grief for taking this gig. I personally think that is a mistake for our side. First of all, to me, as much as I dislike Donald Trump, a presidential inauguration is bigger than the individual. She's not singing for him, she's singing for the country. That inauguration celebrates how we have peaceful transitions of power regardless of what some people might think about the new person. So I applaud her for taking that gig if she wanted to do it. Just as I applaud the people who were in the Rockettes who chose not to perform at the inauguration and got dispensation from, I guess it was Madison Square Garden Entertainment or whoever it is that owns Radio City Music Hall and owns the Rockettes. But my feeling is if someone wants to do it, bless them, they should do it, because the inauguration will come and go, but President Trump will be a reality for 4 years or more.
I was just writing about an article about Trump's difficulty in finding anyone to perform at his inauguration, and it's quite telling. He was able to book the Rockettes, but some of them wanted to opt out, and they had to get special permission from their union to do so. He booked the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, who have performed at previous inaugurations, but one woman up and quit the whole choir because she didn't feel that she could look herself in the mirror and after singing for Trump. And she said, "I couldn't throw roses to Hitler. I can't do this," which was a powerful statement, I thought.
Wow.
Yeah. There have been a lot of rumors.
That's a lot.
But there have been a lot of rumors about, who's been approached, what they've been offered. Elton John has allegedly said, no, he wouldn't do it. Trump wanted someone like Justin Timberlake or Celine Dion or Katy Perry, which is the most absurd notion given what a booster for Hillary Katy Perry was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who even brought that up in a meeting? And Mark Burnett is producing this thing, and he's got, major Hollywood bookers trying to get people, and everyone just keeps saying no. Andrea Bocelli, the opera singer, initially said yes after being personally asked by Trump, and then backed away because his fans went nuts and said, you can't do this. So I find it interesting from sort of a sociological perspective. When you think about Donald Trump, the approval he really wants, well, aside from, maybe some Freudian desire for his father to approve of him, which he's never going to get now, he wants New York to love him. He wants Hollywood to love him, and he wants the media to love him. Well, Hollywood has just given him the middle finger, basically, by not showing up at his inauguration. Even New York, which like 90% of New Yorkers voted against him, New York City residents voted against him, and the Rockettes won't even show up. What's more New York than the Rockettes?
A couple of them.
Some of them are
showing up.
A lot of them. No, they're going to have a full line of Rockettes there. A handful of dancers opted out. The Rockettes have more than enough dancers to fill the void.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it was enough noise about it that Trump's hometown was acting squeamish about him, and now the media, with the Wall Street Journal accepted, is really starting to get a little grittier in the way they cover him. So he's losing a lot of what he considers important in terms of personal affirmation. Okay. Joy Reid just wrote a great article about this, actually.
The young lady who's supposed to sing, by the way, her name is Jackie Evancho, and she actually sang for an Obama event, one of the 4th of July events. I could be wrong on that, like 2 or 3 years ago, and she was like 13 or 14. And she's very talented, and I can see, and she actually has a transgendered sister. And I don't think politics plays into it for her. She sees this as an honor.
Yeah, I think she likes to sing.
And she likes to sing. That's wonderful. The other thing a lot of people don't know is that they are having, and this I kind of find funny, is they're having problems finding marching bands, high school and college marching bands.
Yeah.
Just don't. And I've been a high school band director many times. No one wants to get involved in the politics. I think a lot of people want to stay away. And this goes back to a group a couple of years ago, the Dixie Chicks. Mm-hmm. And they said something about George W. Bush, something unflattering, and they got boycotted. And they got sucked into that realm of politics, and they got associated with one side or the other. And they said, look, we're not apologizing, and we are part of this. And some groups do that, and they do it proudly. Katy Perry, you just mentioned, Kid Rock is a proud, and Ted Nugent are proud Republicans, and they love this stuff. And
I wonder if they're free on the 20th. Maybe Trump could book them.
Actually, Kid Rock is playing. I'm not making that up, by the way.
At the inauguration or at one of the balls?
The inauguration. I had just read that Kid Rock is doing something, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was a joke.
He washes his hair.
Do you guys remember who played at Obama's inauguration as far as musician?
Who?
Yo-Yo Ma.
Yo-Yo, no, okay. In addition, it was Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder, Katy Perry,
Franklin.
Alicia Keys, Beyonce, of course, Lady B, James Taylor, the cast of Glee. I mean, come on, Usher. Let's see.
Yeah, but Kid Rock wasn't there, so come on.
Kid Rock. Yeah,
they didn't have the kid.
There's a Spotify. There is a Spotify list just for that. It's called the Obama inauguration.
Did they all perform at the inauguration itself, or were they at balls around town the night of? Because I watched the inaugurations and I don't remember. And there was a concert for Obama before. The day before on the mall, like at the Lincoln Memorial, that was this all-star lineup, but they weren't at the inauguration. It was a separate thing.
I don't know. All I know is that
but basically every musician in America poured into D.C. to try and sing for Obama.
I know. It would have been the cast of Hamilton. It would have been. Yeah. I mean, it would have been awesome.
Yeah, no, Lin-Manuel Miranda would have written a rap for Hillary. It would have been something.
Of course. The entire week would have been canceled in New York and Chicago. There would have been free concerts and gee whiz. It would have been much better.
Yeah, you know what? Middle America doesn't like good music. What can I say?
I live in Middle America. So
one thing I wanted to touch on to this week is what's happening outside of presidential politics, although not far outside of it, where you have Democrats in the Senate and the House trying to figure out a strategy to save Obamacare, the ACA, from being repealed in the first couple of weeks of the Trump administration. Rebecca, what's happening on that front, and what's your take on how they're likely to succeed or fail?
Oh, the plots are thickening.
Before you go, though, it's not just the Democrats, though. It's the Republicans also who are afraid that if it fails, that it just might fail, all right?
This is a house of cards, and nobody is sure what card is going to get pulled out first and how much of it's going to collapse. We got a bunch of stuff going on here. We've got the existing strategy that we know of where the Republicans want to repeal it in the budget process and then replace it later,
right?
Leaving it intact. There is also an existing lawsuit that was filed back in John Boehner's time a couple of years ago, challenging the administration's right to pay out subsidies without a formal appropriation. And the original judge in the first round said, no, the president's allowed to do this, and it's been appealed, and they're waiting to see if the next level of federal judge is going to hear this case. And that puts the Trump administration in the position of having to defend Obamacare or to decline to defend Obamacare. And then if they get if it turns out that somehow the president doesn't have the authority to pay out the subsidies, then that goes poof, goodbye.
Okay, but let's get to what's going on with the Democrats, because this other stuff all existed already.
Well, there are two things that have happened. A letter came out this week from Schumer, Pelosi, and the leadership in the House and Senate, and also Senator Bernie Sanders, saying that we have to save the Affordable Care Act as well as Medicaid and Medicare. They want to create a national day of action on this on January 15th. I know, which I'm like, really, guys, let's not coattail on Martin Luther King Day of Action. Let's come up with our own thing. But I wasn't in the room when Bernie Sanders came up with this idea. I'm guessing it was him. I have no evidence for that.
Sanders is the worst.
I mean, national days of action will do absolutely nothing. Is there? And I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at my own representatives. Do they have any tangible strategy to stop the repeal, which is going to happen? It's going to happen.
I don't know yet. They've got some really interesting talking points that are laying down hard on protect seniors, protect seniors, protect seniors. It looks like they're going to work more on trying to save Medicaid and Medicare than specifically saying Obamacare, probably because Medicaid, Medicare play better in the media. And
so I have a question
something
for you.
DJ said a couple of weeks ago that's interesting is people always want to save old people, but they don't necessarily want to save poor people. And I think that might be right in this case. So we're going to see strategy that is based on don't take nursing home care away from older people, don't take prescription medication coverage away from old people, don't take Medicare away from old people, don't voucher care it. Anyway, so they're going to be huddling with Obama this week to talk about this further. And I think we'll see fleshed out talking points. If it were me, I would be making calls to all the major public health groups and getting them to leverage their advocacy networks to really get going on this. I think the day of action is to shut Bernie Sanders up more than anything else.
Right. So I guess if we had to sum up the state of the United States or United States politics as it stands at the beginning of this new year is the Russians are going to get away with having somehow influenced American elections. Trump is going to somehow find enough people to perform at his inaugural that it won't be a complete disaster. The Democrats are going to fail at trying to save the ACA. But one thing is not going to change in 2017, Greg. Do you want to tell everybody what that is?
Oh, same thing as always. John Kasich is still going to be an asshole.
Thank
Here.
goodness that we have that to grasp onto.
With consistency.
With consistency. Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
And with that, I think we've told the people everything that we know about the state of the world. Rebecca, what do you think?
I think that we have finished up exactly what we can tell them without the wonderful input of our very smart, more conservative friends who were unable to be here tonight. But if you want to try again next week, we'll be back. And thank you for listening tonight. Please like us on Facebook at the More Perfect Union podcast. And you can share our link on your Facebook timeline so your friends can hear about us as well. And if you enjoy debates and would like to be part of ours, join us on Facebook in our political discussion group, Open Fire. We're all there. We'd love to see you too. And until next time, have a great week. Am I allowed to start saying that my governor's an asshole too? Because I kind of think he is.
Only if you name
Not
it.
as much.
Larry Hogan. And I think